Law and Crime. Court in Fulton County, Georgia is on a lunch break. We're in day 2 of the hearing to remove the district attorney, Fani Willis, from the Donald Trump election interference trial. And while there's been some accusations of a relationship issue not being appropriate, and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade apparently hired, but was it before or after the relationship began? That is the real question. So we're catching you up on some testimony from Fani Willis. She was going to take the stand today, decided not to. She didn't decide not to. They decided not to call her back. What does that tell you? Maybe yesterday was a little too something? Well, let's take a look at some of the activities from yesterday. Again, this is when she's talking about Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. She described the nature of the relationship. Let's watch.
Please give me the time period.
Mr. Wade visited you at the place you laid your head.
When?
Has he ever visited you at the place you laid your head?
So let's be clear, because you lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth, Judge. And it is a lie. It is a lie.
Ms. Willis? Mr. Sena, thank you. We're going to take 5 minutes.
You've never given Mr. Wade money through Cash App.
No.
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute, but I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened? No, we're going to answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did. So don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract in a minute. I asked you about cash. Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So if we would go to dinner,
let her finish her answers.
If we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
Okay.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money I've handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
All right. Now, I've said once or twice before, never underestimate the power of likability. And the inverse is true there. If somebody's unlikable, the merits may not mean a thing. The testimony may not mean a thing because you just don't like the person. That happens. Natalie is here, Katherine here. And I think there were moments with Fani Willis that she was not so likable. She was arrogant and she was running the show. Katherine, with a jury that has a certain impact, but what do you think it does to just a judge hearing this matter?
You know, that's a tricky question because we know that the judge and Fani Willis have been in court, or Fani Willis has been in his court several times. So he has that benefit of her reputation, her credibility, and her manner as a lawyer, not so much as a witness like she's doing. So I'm sure that Fani Willis, when she's the lawyer asking direct or cross-examination, that she handles any witnesses who would act that way to reel them in. So the issue here too is the defense lawyer are walking into those questions and they know who they're up against, a very well-trained district attorney. So why even get to that point of making the witness, her, react that way? So it's both of them, that Fani Willis has the training and knowledge to know how to be a good witness. And then the defense attorneys also have the training how to reel in a witness. So they're both sides are not going back to their training at this moment because it has become personal.
This might be the video of how not to be a good witness. And her team was shocked that she was there. So there was no prep time. There was no hours and hours of let's go over this and see what you need to say and not say. Natalie, let me ask you something on an unrelated issue to her specific demeanor. It's a factual issue that I don't understand. When Wade was on the stand, he talked about getting his checks from the county for the work that he was doing on this case, that he then put them in his firm's bank account, and there were 3 partners at one point and then 2 at another point, and they were splitting these funds. So my question I never heard the answer to is, did anybody else work for this Mr. Wade on the work he was doing in this case? Why would there be a splitting of that revenue? In my thought, and let me know what you think, it was like he was saying, look, I didn't get all that money. It wasn't all my money. It went to the firm, and it was, well, if they weren't working on the case, it was his money. What's your take?
Right. So every law firm is different, but my understanding is that some law firms have profit sharing agreements where it doesn't matter what you are getting the money from. Any money that you get, if you're in a law firm with someone, ultimately goes to the firm first and then is disbursed to the partners according to the amount of contribution that they did to bring in that money or whatever their profit sharing agreement is. Just like if one of the other partners were to win a massive med mal case, for example, and come into a giant windfall, they wouldn't say, I'm the only one who worked on this case, I take this money. They would put it in the firm account and then disperse it because there's tax implications and things of that nature because they're all incorporated together. One might argue that there should be an exception for government funds when there's a government contract, but that is not the case. So there would have to be maybe a law change or something like that, but it's completely normal for one partner to get paid an amount of money for work that they did in furtherance of the firm and put that into the firm account.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me, especially in the manner of a contingent type of fee arrangement, which is most of the firms I worked with were that kind of. But he was working hourly. The question, Katherine, I wish they had asked was, did anybody else in your firm contribute time or effort into protecting or prosecuting this case? Because if the answer is no, and I suspect that it was, then all of that money can be attributed to him, and that's the point that should have been made. Am I missing something here?
I agree with you. That's exactly what I was thinking as well during that line of questioning, because it would also, I agree with Natalie that there is that contract among partners, but also my question is, did anyone at the firm work on his cases? Did he use the resources of the firm, the paralegal, the legal assistants, even, the computer, the photocopy machine, all of that? Are those then being used as resources for his government contract? If it's a yes, then there's that commingling of his time and the firm's resources. That's why it was deposited into the firm's account and divided into three, because there were three partners supposedly. But if there was not, which I highly doubt, because I have a feeling that his legal assistants and paralegals probably helped him along the way, unless he hired someone separately to help him with that.
That really relates to the fact that he was getting $250 an hour, and most in his position were getting $150. Again, it was too muddy. It wasn't really cleared up to the degree that I think would have been helpful to the judge. But he's probably smarter than me. So, hey, I've got to thank and excuse Natalie Whittingham-Burrell. Always a pleasure, Natalie. We'll see you next time here on the network. And Katherine Lizardo is going to stick around. We'll come back more out of Fulton County, the Fani Willis matter, when we come back.